All right, let's go ahead and get started. Glad everybody's here this morning. Is that pretty loud? Is that better? Okay. Again, glad everybody's here this morning. This is a pre-bid meeting for the Shawnee Road Roundabout project. If you are not here for that project, you're in the wrong room, wrong place, wrong time. I'm Brion Rhodes. I'm the bridge engineer and chief deputy at the Allen County Engineer's Office and the project manager for this job. To my right is the Allen County engineer and, more importantly, my boss, Tim Piper. And we also have Joan Zibin from DLZ. They are the consultant on this project, and they also have in the back a sub-consultant who did the bridge design, Ian Coley from Coley and Callagher here in town. So just to start off, we got a few things I want to make clear. If anybody has any cell phones, if we want to turn those off, please, during the meeting. This meeting will be recorded. As you can see from the camera here to my right, it will be recorded and will be posted on YouTube. So if you have any questions or you want to review what went over today, you can look on YouTube and download that. We'll also post it on our website, which brings me to what that is. This is a copy of our website. It is at coengr.co.allen.oh.us. I assume a lot of you have probably already downloaded the plans from this website, but if you have not, and maybe picked up the plans from our office, you can go here and get the PDFs of all the plans, both Part A and Part B, and you can also download the contract documents. Those are password protected, so any of your subs can download that stuff, but as far as the contract documents, I want to know who actually picks up plans, who's going to bid on the job. So if there's any addendums or any changes that come down the pike, I can send those out to all the plan holders. You'll also find on there Davis-Bacon wages that are requirement on this project, and you will also see all of our standard drawings along with ODOT's standard drawings. In addition to that, we tried to make it as simple as possible for you contractors, and that is that we have supplemental information on there, being the asbestos reports for both the bridge and the Fisk gas station, and geotechnical reports that was done for the project. And just as a side note, on the geotechnical report, it has been known, I want contractors to know that there has been sand in the area in previous projects. So it is potential that there could be sand in the area. You will also find Phase 2 ESA reports and along with existing bridge plans. So those are all great things that are on the website for your use if you care to use them. This is a roundabout project. It is the first in Allen County. It is also the first in our ODOT district, so we have some big things to cover here. It is a huge project for us. It's probably the biggest project we've ever encountered here at the Allen County Engineer's Office. $5.8 million is the engineer's estimate. It includes, it's at the intersection of Shawnee and Fort Amanda Road, and this is one of the busiest intersections for Allen County with over 14,000 cars per day in this intersection. So it's very critical for us that we maintain traffic, which is going to be a huge issue for us in this project. Just an overview of the project itself. What we have is a bridge replacement project here that's in blue. At the north end of the intersection, we're talking about replacing the signalized intersection with a two-lane, multi-lane roundabout with splitter islands and sidewalks all along the project on the west side, coming down here in red and crossing over, and then you'll see it on the east side and southeast quadrant of the project along McDonald's and BP and Arby's and some of those other businesses along the east side. We also have it's noted here in purple, a multi-use bike pedestrian path that connects the roundabout and the existing sidewalks in the roundabout to the existing Riverwalk bike path over here to the east. Again, it's just a huge project for us. We're really excited about it, but we're also a little nervous with all the traffic that is out there and the things that we anticipate. This project is somewhat unique as a roundabout project in the fact that we do have what we're calling a pass-through through the center of the roundabout, and that's detailed here. Normally in a roundabout, you have a center island with nothing in it. But in this one, we have to accommodate loads like this. And this is a load that's trying to be permitted currently to the refinery area. This is 435-ton unit coming in. It's a vessel. It is 24'3" wide from out to out, being the truss system that's actually carrying the unit. So with that, these trucks and these type of heavy haulers cannot navigate through the roundabout, even though the roundabout is very wide and can accommodate pedestrians and multi-lanes with traffic and also typical semi-truck tractor trailers, but it cannot accommodate vehicles like this. So that's why we have incorporated a pass-through here through the center island, and so with that comes a lot of other issues that we have to deal with, signage and crash-worthy items here in the center and some other items that will come up in the future. But that is kind of setting this project off as a little bit unique. I want to go right into utilities on this project. Believe it or not, there are utilities and quite a few of them. And not all of them are here today. I know that the first and foremost that comes to my mind is AEP, American Electric Power. They have relocated. They're both transmission and distribution in the area. The transmission has been relocated on the large steel poles that you may have seen if you've been out there. Their work is done. But distribution, unlike transmission, can make that long span across the roundabout. They are unable to do so, so they have moved their lines all but 3 or 4 poles in the Burger King area. So almost all of their work has been completed, but there's a little bit more work to do right there in front of the Burger King restaurant. And all the other utilities, being Time Warner and CenturyLink and some of maybe TSC, are following suit with that. And I know that some of them are here. We'll go with Time Warner first. Time Warner, I believe, is following right along with the distribution of the AEP. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And you are currently not relocated at this point in time. Is that correct? All right. Again, what he's stated is that Time Warner is not relocated, but they will be relocating prior to the project. Yes. Okay. And it's all a matter of moving those lines off the poles onto the new distribution poles. CenturyLink, do you have any other comments on that you'd like to make? Okay. CenturyLink, is CenturyLink representative here? Yes, John, correct? Okay. John is here, and I think they're in the same boat, correct? We're currently working on some plans. The utility will be relocated prior to the project starting, but again, they will be relocating on those AEP distribution poles. TSC, is TSC here? Okay, yes. You're in the same situation. I also know in the southeast quadrant of the intersection, which would be the BP location, there is a handhold that needs to be moved, and we're going to be working with them here in the next couple of weeks to locate their spot where they need to relocate. And my understanding from Randy is that's a fairly simple operation and it'll be done prior to the construction, correct? That is correct. Okay. Excellent. Dominion Gas is the next one that I have on the list. And I see Brian here from Dominion, and they are currently completed with their relocation. Is that correct? And just as a reference, their line is along the east side, down here in front of the restaurants, correct, Brian? And so they relocated in that right-of-way there, and there's some other relocations along the south of Fort Amanda Road, and then a few more up here along the northwest side of the project. But again, they've all completed their project, part of the project. Any comments you want to add to that, Brian? Okay. City of Lima is the next one I have on there with the water line. They are going to be working on the relocation really kind of during the project. Is that correct, Kent? Okay. Do you have any comments that you want to make in addition to that? No. Okay. All right. They know that what they have to do. They know how they have to work with the contractor. They're willing to do so. It's a matter of some hot taps that they have to make. Is that correct? You have to make maybe a hot tap for us, and then the other ones are all service oriented, correct? Okay. And the final one, and probably the biggest one in my mind, is Buckeye Pipeline. And Buckeye Pipeline is located in the area, somewhat complicates the project. And that is that all along the north side of Fort Amanda Road, Buckeye Pipeline has several pipelines in the area, and I see the representatives here today. With a pipeline being the nature that it is, it's critical. Correct, guys? All right. And with that, there's several concerns that we're going to have. I don't know if you guys want to comment on it. I'm sure you probably do, but there's a lot of heavy flow through these pipelines, and so they don't want them damaged. They don't want them touched. They want to be known when you're working in the area of them, and they want to know if you encounter one. If you encountered, Tim has the mic, we want to just go ahead and give it to Marty there, if you would, please. If they're in the area and you encounter a abandoned pipeline, or what looks like an abandoned pipeline, we should already have had contacted Buckeye Pipeline so that they know you're working in the area. But in addition to that, when you encounter that, they want to know that you encountered it. They want to come out and they want to make the cut and they want to make the tap, because it's their liability with what product is in those lines. And so they want to be fully aware of that, and they want to make the cut and they want to make the cap on the end of that. Correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, are these right-of-way use restriction specifications part of the bid package?
Actually, they are not part of the. I need to post those on the website.
Okay.
There is some notes in the plans, and they are. Jump into my part here. Buckeye Pipeline is currently out there relocating their line. The plan is to go 30 feet below the intersection. And so that's going to help with that, but they're currently boring that. And if you go out to the project right now, you'll see some Jersey barriers out there and pipelines stretched along the north side of Fort Amanda Road, all in preparation for their relocation. But again, if you're anywhere near their line, they want to know about it. If you find their line, they want to know about it. They want to be involved from start to finish on all those things. They have some seismic issues. It's noted on sheet 7. If you have your plans, on sheet 7 of the plans, there is 2 notes up there. One about contractor shall, I'll read it from over here a little easier. Contractor shall contact Buckeye Pipeline before the construction work begins to determine appropriate actions when they encounter a Buckeye Pipeline. And then there's other restrictions about the use restrictions specifically that Marty is talking about. And we will post those on the website so that you will know what those are. And I apologize for not having them already on there. The second note on that is Buckeye Pipeline vibration limitations, and I think that's what those specifications refer to.
Right, the vibratory rolling, that's a really big issue when it comes to roads, and I know at the both tie-ins, we're moving vertically and horizontally, probably more vertically than horizontally, but we're going to try and get behind the curb, but you're going to have to roll in that area of curb and under drain and things like that, and that's where the vibratory prohibition will come in. So you're going to have to note that. You're going to have to static roll that probably more than you would if you had to vibratory roll it. So that's listed in the right-of-way use restriction specifications for Buckeye. So that's probably the biggest one we have, and you've touched upon the other ones. If you bump into some, this is an active 10-inch line. It's petroleum products. It's high pressure. It is westbound coming out of Lima. It goes along the north side of Fort Amanda Road, and then once it gets out to about Wonder Lake, it kind of peels away and heads northwest. But it is petroleum products, but it is going to be deep. That's the intent, to get out of the conflicts in this area. There's cathodic test wires attached to it. There is cathodic current on it. And when anytime you're within 25 feet, generally our broad-based specifications that we want to be notified. The good thing is we're just down the street. So by all means, give us a call at the kickoff. We'll come to the pre-construction meeting. We'll give out business cards, and certainly let us know when you're going to be in the area. We'll be there to make sure you steer clear of Buckeye. And in the abandoned lines, like Brian talked about, there's the active 10-inch. There's an idle 8-inch. There will be the new abandoned 10-inch. We're going to grout that one in place. And then there could be a 12-inch as well. This is a somewhat old corridor. So the point is, you're periodically going to possibly bump into an abandoned Buckeye line. And so let us know. We premeditated this to where we're going to come out with our forces. We'll cut and cap it, and then be on our way. But give us some forewarning. We can't do this at the drop of a hat, but we can probably do it within a day or two. So.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
I think what Marty was referring to, I think there's at least 3 locations. Their design consultant has gotten with us and sent us some plans of at least 3 locations on the plans that is going to be a problem, and I think that's in this area here that he's talking about with a curb. There's also a couple drop catch basins in there that they anticipate we're going to be really close to those lines, and we need to be aware of those and make sure we make those calls to Buckeye Pipeline prior to the work being performed. So again, that's a critical utility that we need to keep in constant contact with. So with that, as you can see, there's a lot of utilities there. There's a lot of entities involved. And with this project, there's 2 other entities that we are involved with, and 2 of our favorite. One is the feds. That's because they're supplying the money for this project. And the second one is the EPA, because we love bats, snails, and mussels. So we have done some pre-work, some work prior to this already. Our crews have been out to comply with the Indiana bat restrictions. And so we've been out already and chopped all the trees down and removed most of the brush, so contractors won't have to deal with that. But they also, more importantly, is the deadline's met. So all the trees have been removed prior to that deadline that the EPA likes. And the Army Corps of Engineers is a huge issue, as it is with every project. But I know with this project in itself, there's a lot of federal money involved. So there's a lot of oversight from ODOT, but there's also probably going to be some federal oversight because of the size of the project. And so contractors need to be aware the fact that with the feds looking over ODOT's shoulder and ODOT looking over our shoulder, we're certainly going to be looking over yours to make sure you're following this Army Corps permit and any other restrictions that are placed in there. This one here shows, this is page, I can't read it from there, 179 of the plans. It details the information there about the in-channel work. The fill area, I have been told many times already by the ODOT, the environmental coordinators there, that it has to be clean, non-erodible material placed in the fill. And then also, if I can note on the plans, I'm not going to find it. I thought I had it there. There's another note in there, right there, date restrictions on page 7. Stream impacts, date restrictions on stream work. Just please note that in-stream work is not permitted between the dates of April 15th and June 30th. That's a key note that I think everyone should know on page 7 of the plans. Other restrictions that we have on this project that make it a little more difficult is this right here. And that is the abandoned Fiscus gas station on the northeast quadrant of this project. Not only do we have Buckeye pipelines going through there, but we have an abandoned gas station. The owner of this gas station walked away from it. They left the tanks in place. Even though Buster regulations requires that after a year they're supposed to remove those tanks, they did not. They claimed bankruptcy, and as it sits. We acquired the right-of-way. We've acquired all the right-of-way on this project, but in this case, we acquired the right-of-way by easement, so the property is still the ownership of the gas station, but what we need to note on here is we need to remove those tanks as part of the project. We also need to remove the gas station and the overhead canopy there. Contractors, what you need to note is on page 8 of the plans. There's several environmental notes on there. First being up in the upper left-hand corner. Environmental studies have shown that there is potential for encountering petroleum-contaminated materials and hazardous waste during demolition and excavations of this property. And that is because, again, when we started doing studies of this project, our design consultant went out and did some test borings. When they made test borings, they did some samples of the inspection wells, and there was 1 foot of free product inside the inspection wells of this gas station. Within 2 days, the gas station was closed. Within a week, it was completely vacant. And so they came in and they pumped out the tanks, but they left the tanks there. So being the fact that there was 1 foot of free product in the inspection wells, we imagine that there is some contamination around the tank area. How much contamination, we don't know. The owner of the parcel was not willing to remove those. Again, so we're removing those as part of the project. As far as the EPA and Buster is concerned, this is a question that's already been raised, is what is your extent of the contamination that you need to take care of? And that is, we were told that all we have to do is we're going to remove the tanks, and any contamination that we expose in removing those tanks is our responsibility. Above and beyond that, it's not our responsibility. Meaning that if there's contamination on the entire site, we are not responsible for that. We are responsible for what we excavate out. So if you pull out the tanks and you take out a bunch of soil, you need to test that soil. And if that soil is contaminated, you need to take care of that soil in an appropriate manner as according to the spec that is written in ODOT CMS and also in the plans. Anything above and beyond that is not our responsibility. Anything you put back in there has to be good, clean, suitable soil for the project. And it's specified there in the plans. And that's noted here in the second column, backfill of excavated areas. And all excavated areas shall be backfilled with suitable material in accordance with the project plans. Furthermore, down there in bold, on the Fiska property and also I believe maybe on the Marathon property, pipes and conduits shall be backfilled and embedded in low-strength mortar backfill with no granular material being placed in an excavation to prevent the petroleum products from migrating. That's a key note that we want to note also, because that will add to your cost. We want to make sure that LSM is placed in those conduit areas so there is no movement of any contamination that's in the area. Another note is on the far column there, building demolition, and the spec has been changed slightly on that, and basically it's saying that you're responsible for removing the building and the canopy and anything else in there that is considered incidental. And I'll read that briefly to you. Items conducive with a service and filling station may be present within the structure but are not readily visible, such as hydraulic lifts, oil, water separation, etc. Removal of these items is incidental to the following demolition pay item, which is a 202 building demolition. So contractors just need to note that. Anything you encounter out there that's incorporated or can be associated with a gas station, that's all incidental to the price of the building demolition. Any questions on that?
Brian, do we have a key for that building?
Yes, I actually have keys for that building for access. With that, I'll move right into our contract documents. This is a front page of our contract documents. On the website, password protected. The highlighted items are what you need to turn in. They're highlighted and bolded. Those are what you need to turn in with your bid proposal, as is noted. Page 5 of the contract documents, several things that need to be listed here. 1, schedule of unit prices. On the website, you not only have the plans, you have the contract documents, you also have an Excel spreadsheet that is on there that is locked down. That spreadsheet is locked down so that it cannot be manipulated. All you need to do is put in the unit prices, and it should automatically calculate for you. And what I'm requiring is that you need to submit that. You need to submit your bid proposal with a paper copy, is what I have here. Schedule of unit prices shall be completed, printed, and submitted with the bid proposal. In addition to that, I'm requiring contractors to submit that file electronically on a USB drive, a DVD, or whatever. That is for my convenience. There are 250 items on this project. There's a lot of contractors, I'm assuming, that will bid on this, and that's a lot of number punching. I want it submitted electronically. I understand that that makes it difficult for contractors because some people want to change that price that last minute before they submit that bid. So, to accommodate that, you have to, as mentioned in here, you have to submit a paper copy with your bid. That bid sheet that's in there can be changed and altered at the last minute. You can scratch something out, or you can leave it blank and you can fill it in at the end and calculate your numbers. Unit prices will control, but I'm allowing you to make that change at the last minute. It does not have to be exact with what the electronic file is because you're submitting that both in the sealed bid, okay? So both have to be submitted in the sealed bid, but the electronic version is for my convenience and your convenience. It does not have to match exactly with what's in the paper copy. The paper copy that's submitted with the bid proposal will control. Alterations can be made at the last minute. Second part of that, just making note, there is a Part B and a Part A to this contract. You're bidding on both. Part A, Part B, bids will not be accepted for one or the other. They have to be for both. There's also a note in here for fuel price adjustments and an asphalt price adjustment for multi-years on there. Another note that you should know is GeoGrid alternate bid, item 861. What that is, let's see if I have it. No, I have it in the plans later. It is noted in the plans. There is an alternate bid for GeoGrid material that's in there. And what that means is you need to bid for the generic GeoGrid material, and then you also need to bid for the specified proprietary product, Tensar Triax 140 that we place in the bid. So a contractor has to bid on both, not only the alternate one, but also the alternate two. They have to bid on both. And then we will select which one we want to use in the project.
Brian, going back to Part A and Part B, you want to explain why there's a Part A and a Part B?
Sure. Part A is the roundabout bridge project. Part B is the sanitary relocation that's part of that. And the reason why they're separated is because they're two separate funding agencies. The sanitary is being relocated, and it's being relocated on their expense. And so they have to be separated because all the funding that's involved in the project. So, special conditions, this is page 41 of the contract documents. It's also listed on page 38 of the contract documents, and I believe also 35, I think, as well. And that is extra work. The value of any extra work or change in the plans shall be determined by estimate and acceptance in a lump sum or unit price named in the contract or subsequently agreed upon prior to the work being performed. What we're saying there is that's how we want to deal with it. We want either lump sum or we want unit prices or something that's agreed upon between the contractor and the county engineer's office prior to the work being performed. Force account, which is CMS section 109.05C. Force account will not be accepted unless authorized by the Allen County engineer and only for unique situations. We don't like force account. We don't want to work that way unless we absolutely have to. We have no other choice. So contractors just note that. Any other comments? Here's just a couple of screenshots of the plans, Part A, Part B, 211 sheets. This here is a sheet 7, just the notes again, Buckeye Pipeline notes on there. There is the alternate bid for the geogrid material, Part A, or alternate 1, alternate 2 for the proprietary product. I'm showing there again that date with the in-stream work, no in-stream work between April 15th and June 30th. There's another difference here in the project, and that is that this project, because this center island, we have some landscaping that's in there. Landscaping requires irrigation, and so there is an irrigation spec in the plans, sheet 143 it looks like, and in that we have specifications that the contractor is supposed to do the plans for the irrigation system. Contractor to design and install irrigation system to include all the necessary piping, sprinkler heads, so on and so forth, involved in the irrigation system. That is not design, that is a contractor's responsibility. It's my understanding that when you buy irrigation systems like that, they typically will make the design for you. So contractors are required to do that as part of the bid. Because this is a pass-through, we're taking supersized loads through this area. There is another kind of unique feature in that we are putting in there, it's on sheet 10 of the specs front. It is a bid item for 601, articulating concrete block system. And what that is it's a support system that will support, it's like, I call it a concrete block turned on its end. Okay, it's a high-tech concrete cinder block turned on its end. And what you do is you have the voids inside that concrete block, and we're going to fill those voids with topsoil. In that topsoil, you have grass seeded, and so the center island will have some grass effect look to it, yet it'll still be able to maintain those supersized loads that come through. Those supersized loads, we've had 5 in the last 3 years. So they don't come by all the time. They're not every week. They're just periodically, they come through, and we need to accommodate for those, but we want to be able to maintain a landscape look inside the center of the island. So that's what there is out there. It's my understanding, I've talked to a supplier, there is another supplier that wants to get a crack at that, and so there may be some tweaking involved in that as well. If you have an alternate to that, we may consider that. The next thing I want to talk about is maintenance of traffic, and that is, as I mentioned previously, the beginning, MOT is the biggest thing on this project. We are concerned about it because it's Shawnee Township. If any of you have worked out there before, there's a lot of traffic, and some of the population out there is a little older, and so you have to accommodate for that. Maintenance of traffic, the plan is set up for 4 different phases. Phase 1, Phase 1A, 2, 3, and 4, excuse me, there's 5. Of those phases, what is the most critical thing, and I mention it over and over again, and I will continue to do so, is traffic must be maintained. The bridge out there, we are constructing a new bridge to the east of the existing bridge, so the existing bridge may be maintained. And we will not accommodate for, we will not allow for closing of the existing bridge prior to the new bridge being constructed. We want the new bridge constructed, traffic to be switched over at a minimal of, in the plans right now, it's 1 weekend. And the design consultants have said that's possible. It's completely possible. It's up for you to contractors to either follow plan. If you have some tweaking that you'd like to do to the maintenance of traffic, which all contractors do. I've never seen anybody follow the maintenance of traffic to a T. If you want some tweaking to do to that, we will entertain those changes. But traffic must be maintained, and we want to, if you're talking about shorten the length of the project because you can do certain things, we're willing to entertain those ideas, but traffic must be maintained. We won't allow the bridge to be shut down or the traffic to be shut down.
There is one exception to that. There's a period of time that we have put something underneath the road that's really deep to the west, where we will have to shut that leg down for 2 weeks. That's in the plans also. But other than that, the rest of the intersection would need to remain open and traffic flow.
I believe he's referring to Phase 1A, there where one-way traffic is. It's just going to be one-way traffic for 2 weeks. That's the way the plan is currently set up, and that's to actually construct the project. It's necessary to do that. Those are the key features that we have on the maintenance of traffic, and they're listed in the plans detailed here. The other thing that I just want to mention is that Shawnee Township is just to the east of that. Their fire and rescue is there, and so we really want to be cognizant of that. We want to make sure that we are accommodating them as best as possible. If there is going to be any closures, we want to try and let them know in advance as much as possible because, again, I mean, we're so in such close proximity to the fire and rescue and police department that we want to make sure that they're aware of everything as much as possible. And with that, I want to open it up to questions that you may have for us about the construction of the project.
And we want people to use the
Yes,
mic.
and if you would, because this is being recorded and it's going to be out there for everybody to see, we want you to state your name and the company and your question, if you would, please, just to make sure that we get it on tape. Are there any questions in the back?
Sean Wade with Eagle Bridge. I've got a couple questions for you, Brian.
Okay.
First one, I might deal with what you're talking about there with the Phase 1A, the 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Is that dealing with that water quality structure and that deep run of pipe? Is that why you guys are thinking that, or is there something else?
I'm going to divert that question to our consultant over here, Joan. It is what the question was, again, it's the 2-week Phase 1A of the project. Let's see. 1A of the project, the west side of the project is shut down. It's one-way traffic only, and that traffic is, the way it's currently set up, is listed here, shown here in the green. That's existing or temporary pavement that's constructed here in the light green. And I think the reason that is to build all the curbing and everything else on the north side that's detailed here. And to do that, they put in the plans to have it one-way traffic going westbound. Correct?
That's correct. I think there's only enough room to maintain one lane and build the whole leg of that roundabout.
So that's currently how it's set up. If you have a modification to that would work, we would entertain that.
Our concern there is you've got a deep run of pipe where 85% of your drainage outlets in that corner of the job. The first manhole you have to put in coming out of that water quality structure is actually underneath the existing bridge. And then that pipe run has to go under the existing bridge footer, under the approach slab, into like a 12-foot deep manhole that would be out in the middle of the new roundabout.
Okay?
And we're concerned if that's even doable. With, obviously, you need those runs of drainage put in so that most of the rest of your drainage throughout the job can drain, so to maintain positive drainage. But putting that run in the manhole under the existing bridge, and then having to have a run of pipe coming under the existing footer while you're still using that bridge. You know, that run of pipe needs to be done one of the first things on the job. We don't got an answer for you, we just got a question.
We'll take that down, and then we will try to get answers and put that as an addendum.
Okay, so just trying to repeat the question. Your question is there, right there in the northwest quadrant of the roundabout or the intersection, there is a drainage facility there, basically a whirly jig to clean your, what will we call it?
I can explain it, I can show you on the plans afterwards, but basically we think there's a constructability issue with that drainage
Okay,
to meet your phasing. And we
Okay.
don't have a solution for you either. We just see
All
a
right.
big problem there.
so you're asking about constructability of that water system there and the drainage system into the center of the roundabout. We will look into that and get back.
Okay.
We will post, by the way, we will post not only this on there, but any answers to the questions that you raise, we'll post on the website as well. So I want to clarify that as well. So we will look into that and answer what we can on the website. Your second question?
Deals with the subgrade stabilization. You guys have some items set up for, I believe, cement and then curing coat. There's no item set up for subgrade stabilization by the square yard. Usually those all go together. You pay by the square yard, then the tonnage is just purely for the cement they incorporate. So per the ODOT spec, you're missing at least one item. Then sometimes, not always, there's a fourth item, which is for the design of that. You know, typically it's bid under just a generic 4 or 6% cement content. And if you have a large enough quantity, you might want them to do design because you might save some money. You know, they might only need 2%. They might need 8%, depending what your soils are, but at least you've got a design that you know will work for your soils. So it's worth looking into. We think there's at least one bid item missed.
And you're saying what bid item would that be
It'd be
that's
at
missing?
item 206, subgrade stabilization, and then be bid per the square yard. The square yard should match with your curing coat, so your takeoff's already there, you just need the item.
Okay.
But with that, we've got a question. If subgrade stabilization truly is what you want here, with all the phases and all the different utilities going under the ground, your subgrade stabilization will get to, I believe, 35 inches below finished pavement grade is where their road-to-mill or whatever they use gets there. And all those guys have big clarifications in their quotes that they won't go so within certain distances of certain utilities. If you think you've got, I know like the pipeline's potentially 30 foot deep, but if you've got a lot of water services and stuff like that, either we're going to hit a lot of stuff or they're going to have a lot of spots they're going to tell you we won't do. And that's across the board no matter what stabilizer you use. So if you need it, you need it. We're just concerned it might be an issue.
That's a great question. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. We will look into that with a design consultant and let you know, post it on the website. But I appreciate the insight on that from a contractor's point of view, that may not be constructible as well.
And then my easiest question. You guys have a bid item set up in the bridge quantities for pile points. And we have tube pile here. We're curious if you want to, typically if we have a pile point item with tube pile, you'll have a note about a conical point. Do you guys want a conical point for the tube pile, or do you just want an end plate to cap the end? You can check and see. Typically, the only reason we put conical points on is if we're hitting cobbles or something like that. If it's a pure friction pile, normally we put a 3/4 inch end plate, but that's incidental to the piling. It doesn't have its own bid item, so.
Okay. Ian, do you have a comment on that?
We'll get back to you.
Okay. I'm fine with that answer. Let's look into that a little bit closer. Yeah.
I think that it was in there for a conical point, but I'll verify and get back to you.
There's a big difference in price between conical pointers and end plate.
Okay. So the question again was conical point or end point. We need to look into that. it looks like it maybe was conical point, but we'll verify and
Yeah,
post it on the
I mean, the
website.
pile points were in there in case you run into anything you need to use. So I'm thinking it's going to be conical point, but I'll verify it.
Okay, great questions. 3 great questions. Any other questions? Maybe I addressed them all for you.
Completely confused.
Okay. No other questions? Seeing none, I'll pass it off to Tim here. Appreciate you coming in.
I just want to thank everybody. If you have any other questions or think of anything after this, please contact us. Obviously, if we provide an answer, it's going to affect all bidders. We will be putting out an addendum and putting it on the website as well. So, but if you come up with anything, if you think of anything after looking through the plans, please feel free to contact us. And I think Brian has gone through everything really well. I think he's explained how to go about getting plans and looking them up on the internet and how to bid. So again, if you have a question about how to bid, please see us afterwards.
Yeah, I would prefer if you have any questions that you email them to me. So again, so that everyone can be aware of those questions and placed out there, because there's certainly some errors. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So there's certainly some errors in the plans or admissions. If you find them or anything that you feel we need to address, please contact me, preferably by email, and then we'll post it on the website for everybody to bid fairly on.
And bids will be received, do we have that date?
Yeah, bids will be opened on April 7th.
At the county commissioner's office,
Yes, and
not our office.
yes, and I want to make that clarification. I thank you, Tim, for making that, reminding me of that. Bids will be received at the Allen County Commissioner's office, which is not the courthouse, and that is a recent change. So we want to make sure that you're aware of that. It is posted correctly in the bid.
It's the 3rd District Court
It's
of
the-
Appeals on North Main Street.
Correct. It's listed correctly in the advertisement, and it's also listed correctly in the plans as well. Board of Allen County Commissioners, Court of Appeals Building, 3rd floor, 204 North Main Street. Not our office, not the courthouse, 204 North Main Street, the Court of Appeals Building. That's their new office. That's where the bids will be received. That's where bids will be opened. And that opening is April the 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Thank you all for coming. Just one more thing, as far as field offices go, it's entirely up to you, but we do have someone that has an office available out there that's left cards with us. If you're interested in that, wanted to contact them, we have cards up here. Thank you.